Hello and welcome to the first episode of my NCAA Football Dynasty YouTube series. My name is Tyrell and I'm your host, as this series is going to take you through the college football landscape each year in a way that you have rarely experienced before on YouTube. Expect to see weekly recaps of all the big matchups, top 10 plays, and previews of what the rest of the season has in store. And if you're familiar with following a single team or a single coach in the YouTube Sports Dynasty series, there'll be a focus on that as well. A coach created after myself will be trying to climb the ladder of college football and become one of the best coaches in college football history. And on that note, most of the series is going to be very hands-on, as this is a coaching dynasty that I'll be normally running. A coaching dynasty is when I go to play the games, but the most that I will ever do is just call plays. I will have to rely on the players' ratings and the skills and hope that as a great coach, I can put these players in the position to be successful. So all you'll see me doing is calling the plays, and the CPU will actually act out once the ball is hiked on who the ball is going to be thrown to or in which direction the players are going to move. For that more single-story dynasty look, you can follow the chronicles of my creative coach in threads both on operationsports.com and dynastysports.net, with the links for those going to be in the description. Expect to watch all the top games that we have playing, as well as the plan is to live stream some of the marquee and interesting matchups over on Twitch. My channel over there is It's Tyrell, and that's going to be linked in the description below, along with the Operation Sports and the dynastysports.net stuff. Over there on Twitch, we're going to be streaming the big games in bunches, or you might even be able to catch a good game from some unexpected programs throughout the season. Depends on what matchups we get to see that are pretty intriguing, whether it become from a schedule standpoint or even just some cool jerseys. Most importantly, none of this is going to be possible without your viewership and feedback. So I'm going to have my Twitter account tied to this as well. The Twitter name is It's Tyrell, and that's also going to be in the description because I'm going to use that to notify people of upcoming streams. And we may even have polls in there if I'm undecided on what games that I want to have in the Twitch stream, and let you guys be able to vote on that. So with all that out of the way, let's get into what matters most. I had to simulate the 2020 season to get to this point in the franchise, but I still made sure that Alabama claimed the national championship. So Nick Saban does have his 7 rings, and Alabama is going to be opening the 2021 season right where they left off as the number 1 team in the nation. Clemson took the number 2 spot, as both schools had an offseason that went just a tad different than real life, but I'm going to go into depth on that a little bit later. In the meantime, the top 5 is rounded out by the other playoff participants in Notre Dame and Ohio State, along with a surprise in USC, because the Trojans are coming into this season with a lot of hype, but their resume might not look that great at the end of the season. Currently, the only ranked opponent they're scheduled to play is Notre Dame, and aside from that, there's nobody that really strikes fear into building a strong resume for the Trojans this year. Miami is another surprising team. They are playing at number 7. They're starting the season at number 7, rather. And quarterback Derek King is going to be returning for his senior season, hoping to improve upon shaky play last year. They're going to open the season at number 12, Tennessee, in the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic. And we've already built some pregame bad blood between the schools, as Miami is going to be wearing their all-orange uniforms for this game. And I had Tennessee choose to respond by electing to wear their smoky gray uniforms, and had players kind of jawing at each other on social media to make it feel like Miami is stepping on Tennessee's toes with being the only school that wears just plain old orange. That's the only matchup between top 25 schools this week, so we're hoping for that matchup to live up to the hype, as it's got the stage pretty much all to itself. Last note for the top 25 polls, the group of 5 conferences are barely represented, as you're only going to see Cincinnati from the Americans sitting at the number 14 spot, and Louisiana from the Sun Belt. The Raging Cajuns are opening the season at number 23. If you remember how I mentioned that Dynasty, I had to simulate the 2020 season to get to our starting point, well, the offseason definitely didn't go as expected, as Trevor Lawrence has elected to come back to college for his final season at Clemson. Apparently, the fear of going to the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Jets was too strong, because Lawrence is going to lead the number 2 Clemson Tigers, as well as headline our list of preseason All-Americans. Clemson and Oklahoma each have 4 members selected as the first and second teams, but it's the Sooners with 3 first-team selections that lead the NCAA. So also highlighting the first team, in addition to Trevor Lawrence, is another potential first-day draft pick in linebacker Dylan Moses, the senior out of Alabama. Speaking of Alabama, They've got Mac Jones back under center. He decided to join Trevor Lawrence in returning to college for one more national championship run. He's going to be the QB choice for the second-team All-American list, while other notable names include Ohio State's Master Teague at one of the halfback spots, wide receiver Chris Autman-Bell out of Minnesota, and USC's wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's making the list as a return man on special teams. The conferences got a little bit different than what you're normally used to. The Big 12 needed to add 2 members to reach 12 and have a conference championship game in this version of NCAA football. So we had to give them 2 more teams. And with the 12 teams, they split into 2 divisions. So we've brought back both the North and South, which haven't been around for the Big 12 since 2010. The North Division is going to consist of Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Iowa State, and West Virginia, while the South hosts the 2 new members of the conference in Houston and BYU. Houston coming over from the American Conference, and BYU previously being a independent before the Mountain West prior to that. The BYU is also going to serve as a traveling partner for West Virginia when it came down to selecting what schools that they wanted to add to the Big 12. They're going to have their conference championship game in Dallas, Texas at the Arlington, Texas at the AT&T Stadium. And the rest of the South Division, as you can see on the screen here, they're all from the Lone Star State. It's Texas, it's Texas Tech, it's TCU, and it is Baylor. So with Houston leaving the American Conference had to do a little bit shuffling to continue to have a 12-team league as in NCAA 14 in this college football revamped mod, which we do have to take a second to give our appreciation to and thank that they are able to allow us to play this game in the 2020-21 season. UConn is no longer playing as well. They suspended their season last year during the 2020 season, and they technically moved to the FBS independent, but for the sake of sakes, we're going to have them move down to the FCS level in here, so that seems a little bit more realistic. So the American added new team members in Marshall and Florida Atlantic, both from the Conference USA. And that new division is going to be aligned north-south. The new conference, is going to be aligned north-south style. And the conference championship game is going to be hosted in Baltimore, Maryland this season. The north is going to be Cincinnati, Marshall, Memphis, Temple, Navy, and East Carolina, while you're seeing on the screen now the South Division, which is SMU, Florida Atlantic, South Florida, Central Florida, Tulane, and Tulsa. So now lastly, the season is expected to kick off with a bang with the top 3 matchups that we're going to have this week. We've got some big neutral site games taking place this weekend. First off, number 18 Georgia and Oklahoma State are going to clash. They're playing in the Advocare Texas kickoff, which is going to be hosted in Houston. And then we've got our game of the week, as I mentioned earlier, number 12 Tennessee and number 7 Miami from the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic game. That's going to be at the Georgia Dome. Then finally, we're going to end things off at the All-State Kickoff Classic between Oregon and Missouri. And all these games I'm going to have streamed live on Twitch. It'll probably be either the evening after this video is posted, or it may be the morning after, depends on when we get this video out. But look for that information in the description as to when I will be doing the Twitch stream, as well as, of course, on my YouTube channel. On my Twitter channel. You're on my YouTube channel. Had to get one mess up in there for the good recording. But that's the first episode, everybody, because we're going to come back to YouTube once we finish streaming those games and get all the highlights up. So I thank you guys for watching. And as I've mentioned throughout this video, there's a smorgasbord of ways to keep up with everything going on for Dynasty. We've got Twitter. We are going to be using Twitch. We'll see YouTube being the main source. And then we've also got both dynastysports.net and operationsports.com, where you can follow along in a more written, drawn-out style if you need to get caught up, or if you just want some reading material to go alongside with the videos that you guys can be watching. So check out all the information that we've got. Look in the description below, and thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you all next time with some week 1 highlights.